All right, today we're going to tackle a huge idea called structuralism. And trust me, this is one of those concepts that's so powerful, it didn't just shake up the study of language, it completely changed how we think about reality itself. So yeah, let's dive right in. So let's kick things off with a really basic but also really deep question. Where does meaning actually come from? When you say a word, like chair, is the meaning somehow inside that word? Or is there something else going on entirely? That's the puzzle we're going to piece together. For centuries, people who studied language, linguists, they pretty much just looked at it as a history project. They take a single word and trace its family tree all the way back. It was this atomistic view, right? Like every word was its own little historical artifact, totally separate from everything else. But then, the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure comes onto the scene and basically says, hold on everyone, you're all missing the forest for the trees. He made this revolutionary argument that language isn't just a dusty old collection of words. No, it's a living, breathing, self-contained system, a structure. And that's how we get the name structuralism. The absolute core idea is this: words are meaningless on their own. Let that sink in for a second. A word only gets its meaning from how it relates to all the other words in the system. It's all about the connections, the differences, the network. And to help us understand this radical new way of thinking, Saussure gave us this brilliant toolkit made up of 4 key concepts. All right, so the first tool in Saussure's kit is all about time. He basically said if we want to understand this language structure, we have to stop looking at time in just one way. He proposed we need 2 totally different viewpoints. He called these 2 views synchronic and diachronic. Now, the diachronic view is the old school way. It's like watching a movie of how a language changes over hundreds of years. But Saussure said what's really important is the synchronic view. That's like hitting pause on the movie and taking a snapshot. We're looking at the language as it exists, frozen in a single moment, to see how all the pieces fit together and function right now. And he had this great way of visualizing it with 2 simple axes. Think of a horizontal line. That's the synchronic axis. It's everything happening at once, all the words existing together in the system. Then you have the vertical axis. That's the diachronic one. It shows how any single piece on that horizontal line has changed through history, moving through time. And if that's still a little abstract, his chess analogy just makes it click. It's brilliant. Imagine you walk into a room and there's a chess game happening. To understand the current state of the game, who's winning, what the next move might be, do you need to know every single move that's been made since the beginning? No way. You just need to understand the rules of chess and see the positions of the pieces on the board right now. That's the synchronic view in action. It's about the state of the system, not its history. Okay, so that idea of rules in the chess game leads us perfectly into the second tool in the toolkit. This one is all about the difference between the underlying system of language and the messy, real-world way we actually use it. Saussure drew a really important line in the sand here between what he called langue and parole. So langue is the abstract stuff. It's the shared system of rules, the grammar, the vocabulary that exists in the minds of an entire community. And parole? That's the actual concrete stuff we do. It's every individual sentence we speak or write. Let's go back to that chess game. Langue is the rulebook. It's the shared knowledge of how all the pieces can move, the objective of the game, everything. Parole is one specific game being played. It's the actual moves you or I might make. So if someone says something ungrammatical, that's an act of parole. It's a move in the game, and it might even be a bad move that breaks the rules of the langue, but it's still part of the game being played. And this brings up a really crucial point. No single person owns a language. As Saussure himself put it, the system, the langue, it only truly exists in its perfect, complete form within the collective mind of the community. We each have our own little copy of the rulebook, sure, but the rulebook itself, that's a social creation, through and through. Okay, tool number 3. We've looked at the big picture system, but what about the smallest parts? What are the actual building blocks? Saussure really put the common word under a microscope and broke it down. He called this fundamental unit the linguistic sign. And here's the thing. He said a sign is not just a name for a thing out there in the world. It's a 2-sided psychological thing. It's made of a signifier, which is the word's form, and a signified, which is the concept in your head. And you absolutely cannot have one without the other. They are totally inseparable, like the 2 sides of a piece of paper. Okay,
Let's make this super simple. The signifier, that's the sound you hear or the letters you see. T-R-E-E, that's a signifier. The signified, that's the mental picture that instantly pops into your head, the concept of a tree, with its trunk and leaves and all that. The sign itself is the fusion of those two things together.
Now get ready, because this is probably the most mind-bending part of Saussure's entire theory. He said that the link between the signifier, the sound tree, and the signified, the idea of a tree, is completely, totally, 100% arbitrary. There is zero natural reason why that sound should mean that thing. It's just an agreement, a social convention that we've all signed up for. And the proof for this is staring us right in the face. Different languages. Think about it. The concept of an apple, that round red fruit, the signified, is the same everywhere. But what do we call it? In English, it's apple. In French, pomme. In Spanish, manzana. Arabic, tufaha. If there was some natural cosmic link between the word and the thing, we'd all be saying the same sound. But we're not. And that's the ultimate proof that the linguistic sign is arbitrary. So, okay, we've established that words get their meaning from their relationships with other words. But what do those relationships actually look like? Well, that brings us to our fourth and final tool, and this is the one that really shows how the whole system clicks together into this incredible matrix of meaning. Saussure said that meaning is built along two different axes at the same time. You've got the horizontal axis, which he called syntagmatic. This is all about combination, how we string words together in a sequence, one after another. Then you've got the vertical axis, the paradigmatic one. This is all about choice, or substitution, the different words we could have picked for any given slot in that sequence.
Honestly, the easiest way to get this is to think and versus or. The syntagmatic chain is all about and. For example, the cat and sat, and on, and the mat. It's the linear sequence. The paradigmatic axis is all about or. For that first slot, cat, we could have chosen dog, or child, or rabbit. The meaning of the sentence is created by both the chain we build and the choices we make along the way.
And when you put all this together, you arrive at this really powerful conclusion. Language isn't just one system. As the quote says, it's a system of systems. You have the system of rules, the system of signs, the system of combination, the system of substitution. And every single piece gets its value and its meaning from its place within all these interconnected systems. Okay, so let's pull back and look at the big picture. Why does all of this matter? What's the main takeaway? Well, what Saussure gave us with these four big ideas is a complete toolkit, a framework for analyzing any language, not as a collection of historical facts, but as a living, breathing, functioning system. So, here's a quick recap of the whole toolkit. You've got synchronic versus diachronic, that's the snapshot of language versus its historical movie. You've got lang versus parole, the rules of the game versus an actual game being played. Then there's signifier versus signified, the sound of a word versus the idea in your head. And finally, syntagmatic versus paradigmatic, the chain of words you build versus the choices you make for each link in that chain. These four concepts, together, literally built the foundation for all of modern linguistics. And that leaves us with a really big, kind of spooky final thought to chew on. If our primary tool for making sense of the world, our language, is a totally self-contained system where nothing has meaning on its own and everything is defined by everything else, well, what does that say about our reality? Could it be that what we think of as the real world is also just a structure, a reality that's constructed piece by piece by the very language we use to talk about it? It's a heavy question, and one we're thinking about.